Next up, we have Michael Smith from the NSAI, National Standards Authority of Ireland. Michael.
Yep, hello everyone. First thing I'd say, just following up from Susan Adrienne, is that National Standards Authority is a notified body. We're a notified body for medical devices, for construction products and for machinery. So I'm just going to talk about our experience of dealing with people who've moved notified bodies or had queries about that, and I'm also going to talk about the supply chain and some other issues. So firstly, as Adrian has said, all the UK notified bodies will cease to be EU notified bodies post-Brexit. If you use them, you'll have to move. Be aware of what moving means for not just the actual mechanics of moving notified body, but for your production line as well. You remember that once you have a new notified body, you'll be required to change your documentation so that includes your new notified body's details. The CE mark that you put on your product may also need to include the new notified body's number as well beside it. Now that may be trivial in the sense that if you're doing something where you etch the CE mark on or it's printed and that'll be printed on, that may be easy to change. However, if you're dealing like one company we're talking to who manufactures water pumps, high pressure water pumps, they cast the CE mark on the notified body number into the housing of that. That's a big change for them to do, and that will take time for them to get done. So it's not just the process of this, the 3 or 6 months to move notified body, it's what that then means for your production line after that, and you've got to factor that extra time in as well. So that's one thing to be aware of. The second thing, as Adrian said, a number of UK notified bodies have either moved to other European member states or who previously had notified body status in different member states. Be aware that the scope of their accreditation is not the same in every country. We were talking to a medical device manufacturer who were using a UK notified body. That notified body has a subsidiary or has another notified body in another EU member state. When they went to look to transfer across from the UK one to the other member state one, they found that the scope of their accreditation in the second member state was not the same and did not cover their medical device, their class medical device. Therefore, they still had to move notified body anyway. So be aware of those pitfalls. The other thing that piece of advice I'd give you is know what the regulations say as well, so that you know in advance what you have to do when moving notified body. Read the specific regulations or directives. Now, moving on from that, I'm just going to talk about the supply chain and the role of economic operators. Currently, if you purchase products from a UK manufacturer, you are classified as a distributor by the EU legislation. That means that the burdens on you as a distributor are quite low. You just have to be satisfied that the manufacturer, that CE marking is applied, that is in accordance, and then that you then have to you will have a role in interacting with market surveillance authorities should there be a problem with the product. However, post-Brexit, you will become an importer from a third country. That puts additional burdens on top of you as a business. Importers are required to have their own name and contact details on the product, both on the pack of the product and on any product information leaflets. So if you're importing from the UK, you need to talk to your suppliers about how you're going to go about that. You'll be required to hold additional information so that you can show that you are satisfied that the manufacturer has carried out conformity assessment and applied the CE mark correctly. So that means that you will need to get additional documentation from the manufacturer and hold that for up to 10 years in some cases. So that's an additional burden you'll have to do. A number of the regulations require a third country manufacturer to appoint an authorised representative within the EU. There'll be medical devices, pressure vessels, and marine craft. There's 3. If you're in those areas, you need to check if you're importing those that your manufacturer has appointed an authorised representative, and you will need to also carry those details within your documentation as well. So all of a sudden you've got a load of extra work and a load of extra responsibility that you didn't have before purchasing from the UK, and you need to start preparing for that. A third point I'd say about this is about Brexit Day itself. Brexit Day, as of now, is on the 31st of October. it'll take place. You need to start preparing for that now, depending on what your manufacturing processes are, what your supply lines are, and who your importers are. A simple little thing is, how are you going to handle goods that are in transit over that date? And particularly with some of the longer supply lines, we were talking to one company who import goods from the Far East. That is 6 months, 6 weeks to 2 months for the product to get there. So if they're ordering it in the middle of September, it may not have arrived before Brexit Day occurred, and that will bring on additional burdens on them, and you need to prepare for that. So just to be aware of that one. And another little piece of advice I could say is, if you have got businesses both in the UK and in Ireland, try and work out how best you can organise your business so that it can reduce the impact of this. The simple little thing is that if you're an Irish distributor for a UK manufacturer, and that UK manufacturer has to appoint an authorised representative, you should go through that process now to get that done in advance, so that you as the Irish distributor are formally appointed. You need to get any additional documentation arranged so that you can do that now. So think about things like that. Finally, I want to talk about exporters to the UK. What the UK has said is that they intend at some stage in the future, post-Brexit, to put in this system similar or based on the current EU system. However, that on Brexit Day, all current EU legislation will be transposed into UK law. So effectively, the system will work the same over there. They have said that they will recognise CE marking for the time being, and they will recognise EU notified body certification. So that means that if you're exporting to the UK, you don't need to change immediately. However, be aware that may change. What's happened with the UK notified bodies is that on Brexit Day they will become what is called approved bodies in the UK. They'll carry out the same function, but for the UK market, and they will then allow manufacturers to apply the UK CA mark. As I said, as of now, they said you won't need to do that on day one, but be prepared, be investigating what you need to do if that system comes in and if you need to move to that one. One thing you will need to do is, under those 3 areas where you're obliged to appoint an authorised representative in the EU, you will be an exporter to the UK, and you will be obliged to appoint the equivalent over there, which is a designated representative. So you will have to do that now, and you need to prepare to do that. Now, I was talking to one medical device manufacturer who they manufacture in Ireland. They have a sales team over in the UK. What they've done is that they've set up a company in the UK, a subsidiary. The sales team work for that, but that subsidiary they have formally appointed as their designated representative in the UK. So they've taken their current business and adjusted slightly so that they can get over that first hurdle for Brexit. So as I said, you've got to think about things like that, how you organise your business, how it's going to impact both on the regulatory side and on your manufacturing side. And finally, I'd like to touch on one other thing I think has been mentioned earlier, which is the whole area of pallets. As I said, this is not strictly speaking an EU regulation, this is actually a UN regulation. But it impacts because the UK is in the EU. Under the UN ISPM 15, all pallets that cross an international border have to be heat treated and stamped to show that has been done. For the purposes that the EU is treated as one country, so moving between Ireland, France, Germany, and the UK as of now is the same as being within one country. However, once the UK leaves, they will then become a third country, and exporting to the UK means that you're now crossing an international border, and all those pallets will need to be heat treated and certified. If you're an exporter, that is in your own hands now. Make sure that you use the correct pallets and that when you're loading your goods, so that you don't have any problems with your goods going out. If you're an importer, talk to your suppliers in the UK, make sure they're aware of that issue and that they use the appropriate things. I think it's been said that the second highest reason for rejection of goods at Dublin Port has been pallets, incorrectly marked pallets. So be aware that this is an issue. They check for it now. Talk to your UK suppliers to make sure that they do use the right ones. And if you're exporting to the UK, make sure you do it yourself.
Michael, just in a general sense, people that might be listening and they're a little bit bamboozled by the complexity and the nuance of what might be coming down the track, it it seems to me that whether, from your perspective, whether you're importing goods from the UK, whether you're a seller and you're exporting and you have a presence there, you should begin, a first port of call should be to really explore and investigate the nature of those relationships.
Yes.
And precisely what they are and how that might be affected.
That's the best thing you can do, both if it's within your own company, if you've got two subsidiaries, investigate your own setup as to how you can minimise the impact of Brexit by transferring some things to your Irish subsidiary, other things to the UK, therefore that makes it easier. The other thing is, if you're dealing with people, talk to your suppliers or talk to your customers so that either you can minimise disruption for yourself and them, on your customers by getting things right there, and the same way with your suppliers so that you can minimise disruption for yourself.
Great. Thank you very much, Michael.